Hey guys, welcome to lesson one of Course Commitment. Welcome to marriage. Today I'm talking about this awesome topic that's very intricate. Now, it's a topic that we all thought about in our life. Maybe we've heard of it, maybe we know someone who's in it, maybe we're in it, or maybe we want to be in it someday. Now, marriage isn't something that we don't talk about in school. It's not taught in elementary, middle school, or high school. And they don't talk about it in college either. Now, I'm talking about this because I know it's very important. This lays the foundation for all nations, the family unit. Now, I want to get into the family unit because I know the family structure is so important to do work. In order for us to progress in a community, we need to first be able to progress in a family. And in order for us to progress in a family, we first have to progress individually. So it always starts with the man in the mirror, but once you guys can progress mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, then you can also inspire or empower your partner, your spouse, and you guys become one flesh. It says in the Bible the two should become joined together. One flesh, one mission, one goal, one vision, one unity. Unity. You get it? This is a beautiful thing. When you can come together, joined, like a joint in your arm, connected for the one single function. For the one single function. And that's what I want to happen to when I get into the family unit. I want to talk about that and the importance. Now, a lot of the time, we don't know how hard or how important it is to commit. Now, commitment is the basis of marriage because even in the Bible, if you look into it, it says that Christ loved the church. Christ loved your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. You see, Christ gave himself up for the church unto death. He died for his love for the church, for the people, for the body of Christ, right? Gave his life for it. See, so when men have a wife, you have a spouse, you want to love her until death. Until death is a very long time. So again, this is a very big commitment. Sometimes people will say that the two biggest choices that you will make when it comes to your walk in Christianity and in the faith is one, when you give your life to God, and number two, when you pick the one you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Now, this is a big decision. It's a beautiful decision. And it's an important decision. It's a very important one. So I want to get into the differences between men and women, how to handle situations such as arguments, setbacks, dilemmas, things that we're going to be faced with on a daily basis, the power of prayer in marriage, and why I think you should be seeking to marry at some point. And I want to go about as well as I want to talk about the process of courtship. So I want to talk about the process of courtship too, and how to go about courtship, what to look for in a spouse, whether that be a husband or a wife. I'm going to get into some key factors that you should be seeking out in the other person. This is actually going to help you when you get to the point of courtship and of progressing in this relationship in this way. A lot of us think love is an emotion. And so I want to get into that as well, because love really isn't an emotion. Love is not something that you feel, it's something that you do. Love is an act of assertion. You see, it says Christ loved the church so much that he gave himself up for it. Right? That's an act of assertion. That's an action, not an emotion. Emotions change. Actions stay the same at times. So when you can understand that love is an action, not an emotion, then you'll understand how to endure through the setback, the pain, the trial, the errors, the doubts, the insecurities. All inevitable. Sometimes your wife is going to need to depend upon you to take the initiative. Sometimes she's going to have to depend upon you to give the love that she may not be able to give to you. Sometimes you're going to have to go out of your way to give love, even when you haven't received love. This is called enduring love. This is called love without expectation. It's called grace. Grace is what you've been given, and grace is what you can give. Now, this is the foundation of love. It's something that you do without anything in return. And the problem with how we think love is an emotion, we affiliate love to be very similar to Hollywood. And Hollywood has made all these wonderful movies, one of these romantic movies, and we look at the romanticized films and they make us think that love is always how we feel. Love is always how I feel about the person. If I think the person's beautiful, then I love the person. If I like kissing the person, then I must love the person. That's not love, that's lust. There's a difference between lust and there's a difference between love. A lot of us get caught up in the lust factor. So I want to break that down too so you can understand what lust is and then what love is. And then when you can understand the difference, you can move toward the love and not the lust. Lust can deceive you. Lust is always in the eyes. But love comes from the heart. It's an action. It's an act of assertion. Remember this. Okay, so this is what I want to get into as well as family foundations. I love talking about family foundations just because I've been able to see a good family foundation in my life. I know the structure. And a lot of us, the family unit is becoming more divided. Some of us are thinking, oh, I don't need to have a family to prosper and to change the community or to change the nation. Well, I need to tell you right now, the basis of all nations is the communities. The communities form the nations. And behind the community is the family foundation. So if you can disrupt the family foundation, you're actually disrupting the communal foundation, which is disrupting the national foundation. One of the things this country deals with is divorce rate like no other country. 1 in 2 marriages end up in divorce. And not in that much long time, maybe 6-8 years divorce. And this is sad because these are things that are possible to work through. And I know some people would be like, no, I can't work through it. And then some people would be watching this and you guys are like, how do you know how to work through this? I need to tell you, there are tools that come from experts. There are tools that comes from the Bible, from religious sources, whether or not you look into it or you go to mentors, counselors, whatever. There's always a way to work it. The main issue when it comes to a divided marriage is the fact that we are always thinking I and I. So instead of a we mentality, it's began to become an I mentality. So instead of saying we will get through this pain, it's I will have to get through this pain, or I will have to get through this pain. So it's 2 I's instead of 1 we. And if we can bring it back to the we factor, we're going to get through this together. We're going to do whatever it takes to make this work. Whatever it takes, we're going to both sacrifice and give. But we both have to do it. And maybe, just maybe, it'll start with you. Again, that doesn't mean the other person's open to it. But if you're open to it, you can make it happen. God will work with you to use you to make that marriage work. Period. Again, for all of you guys that don't understand the biblical perspective that I'm getting into, I want to let you know now I'm going to be getting into biblical reference. That's what I know succeeds. That's what I know works. Through experience, I've seen the opposite. I practiced Islam for 3 years. I know how it goes in this area as well. So, both religion, well, in Islam it's religion, in Christianity is more relationship. But in Islam, marriage was very important as well. It was very, very important. It's something that every man is supposed to eventually do, and every woman would eventually do. Even in Jewish culture, marriage is very important, and in a lot of traditions, marriage is very important. But for this message, I'm going to be referencing the biblical perspective because I know that to be very faithful, very truthful, and very impactful. So if you're listening, you're from a different tradition, culture, this would be great for you to listen to because these tools and techniques that I've seen in the book will be so beneficial in ways you may not even understand. A lot of traditions, sadly, have it a certain way where we get so caught up in tradition that we forget to build the relationship with our women or with our husband. And we're doing it based off tradition and moral and culture value, but at the same time we don't know if we love that person. Do we really know what love is? I mean, I've seen very good examples of people that were rushed into marriage very young, maybe from the Jewish tradition. And a woman at 18, 19 is rushed into marriage because it's the tradition. So she sits in a room and she meets her husband, who she never knew, and then boom, they're rearranged to marriage. And they have a lot of kids, but this guy becomes abusive and manipulative, and she doesn't know if she actually loves him. Matter of fact, she doesn't even know what love is. So I'm going to be talking about what love is so we can really know what it is. So we're not confused with culture, tradition, or even Hollywood. But we know the basis of love, real love, true love, love that's encompassing, love that's enduring, love that's faithful to the end of time. This is the love I want to hop into because this is so important. And it's going to help you guys as well as women in your relationships as well as your marriage. So that's what I'm going to hop into. But I want to get back to the foundation of families. It stems from the man. Whether you agree with me or not, the foundation of the family is the man. It says in the book, it says, the head of the household is the man. Some will argue that he's actually the bottom of the household because he lays the framework for the foundation to grow. Now, when you look at the buildings that are built, the Twin Towers, big buildings, now these buildings all have a strong foundation. They're built on a very firm foundation. That's why when you cross buildings and you see them under construction, you'll realize that these guys have been working on that foundation for 10 years before they actually added upon it. You are a foundation. If you're a man watching this right now, I need to let you know, you're the foundation for your family. That means it may take time for you to grow before you can be built upon in those areas, before you can work on building a family. It may take 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 10 years for God to lay the foundation in you that can be built upon through having a spouse, having a marriage, having children, etc. All I'm saying is what you'll be doing is laying the framework for your family to rest upon. When your wife's struggling, she'll be able to rest upon the foundation that you've made. When your children are struggling, they'll be able to rest upon the foundation that you formed before they were even born. Now, this foundation can come from financial abundance. This foundation can come from spiritual enlightenment. And this foundation can come from physical health. If you're healthy, your children will come healthy. Sometimes we forget that if we're having a disease or obesity, things like this, our children can be affected as well. So you have to think about these things when you're having children. And before you have children, you also want to understand if you have the foundation for them to rest and lay their heads upon. It's more than just a house. A house is great, a home is great, but you need a spiritual foundation, a religious foundation, a backing that's stronger than you. And the thing about a lot of us as men is that we don't want to submit to anybody, and that's a good thing. But you should want to submit to the one who created you. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. It doesn't have to be a lot, it doesn't have to be a little, but just want to build a relationship with the Creator. You see, that's how we grow. That's how we get stronger. If we submit to something stronger than us. So that's why it's very important for the man to establish a relationship with his Creator, with God. And like I said, you can submit a little, you can submit a lot, but at least you're opening your heart for God to come in. And we got to get rid of our pride, our ego, and things like this. The ego and the pride prevents God from moving through us. He wants to do a work in our life. He wants to do a work in your spouse's life. He wants to do a work in your children's. But if you can't open your heart just enough to let him come through, then there's not going to be any work for him to do. And trust me, he's got plans for you. He's got plans for your wife. He's got plans for your children. But you want to let him come in. And that takes humility. That takes time in prayer, time in solitude. Sometimes you got to seek him personally so that he can work with you externally. So that's what I'm going to hop into, as well as a little bit more. I want to talk about the fear of commitment and why so many of us as young men aren't committing, whether that be to our relationships, whether that be to our goals, whether that be to our family. We have a fear of commitment. And today I want to be honest, but the news, the music, the Hollywood scene, it's always pushing these fears out. Whenever you see a TV show of a relationship, there's normally something that bad happens in it. There's normally a fight. There's normally a big argument. There's normally a breakup. Sometimes you watch videos and there's normally a divorce. And, you're young when you watch it. So when you're young, you look at this as if it's all the truth. And you don't see the positive image that you thought you would see, but you saw the negative. And this made you fearful of committing. Sometimes there's a relative in your household that has a fear of commitment. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your father. They got divorced, they got separated, and they told you never to get married to a man, or they told you never to trust a woman. And you believe this. You believed it. You walked in this, and you functioned in this your whole life. So you may have had relationships, but nothing serious. You may have had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but nothing real, because you weren't able to open up entirely. And the reason we can't open up entirely is not because we don't trust the other person, but because we're scared that the other person won't trust us or will end up hurting us. And I need to tell you, when it comes to marriage, you guys need to be open. You need to get your dirtiest, darkest secrets out on the table. Whatever it was, whatever you were dealing with, whatever addictions you went through, whatever troubles you went through, whatever things that really affected you, that held you down, you need to let it out. Put it on the table. And if that person can't accept for what you had to go through, what you dealt with, some of the things that are deepest and dirtiest down beneath you, in all honesty, whether that be a pornography addiction that led you to do things you would regret, like me, or whether that be an addiction to alcohol, whether that be a fear of men or women, what if maybe it could have been you were in the middle, maybe you liked women, maybe you liked men, maybe you liked the same sex. Maybe you did some things you would regret. Who knows? But let it out. Maybe you abused somebody. Maybe you spent time in jail. Maybe you committed a sin or something that you're deeply insecure about. But whatever, pray about it first. Ask God if this is okay to disclose and when it's okay, but let it out. And if the person can't accept you for what you've been through and what you're going through, then that's not the person you want around you. Because what love is that it's an enduring thing. It's an enduring act that withstands trials, tests, testimonials, setbacks, fears, whatever. It seeks your darkest, your dirtiest, and it stays with you regardless. That's the grace that I've been received through Christ. Is that God loved me before I was worthy of it. He loved me when I was doing things that were disgusting in my eyes. He loved me when I was in the wrong. He loved me when I knew I was far away from him. But he still loved me regardless. And that's called grace. And that's the kind of love that you will be showing to your wife or to your husband. It's based off of grace. So one of the key factors when it comes to the courtship process is grace will play a major part in it. God will allow grace to be the center of it, as well as he will be the center of it. So this is just a little bit of overview, a little bit of things I'm wanting to enlighten you on. I love this topic, by the way. I think it's extremely important. I just went to a conference the other day about it. So I can't wait to tell you guys a little bit more, give you some more insight on a lot of these things. So stay tuned, pay close attention. I'm going to hop into the differences and the love and the foundation. So let's go. Alright guys, so now I'm going to hop into the differences between men and women. Now I put men versus women, but it's not a battle. We're all in this together. We just are different beings. So this is basically really interesting to our innate nature. We all want to know the difference. Whether you are Christian, whether you are a different religion, whatever, whether you don't have a religion at all, we all are interested in these topics because it's the foundation and it's the basis of our natural instinct. This is the most primal topic I'm going to get into, just so you know. Most of my topics are very interesting, intricate, and they're based off of religious foundation or a gospel or something like that. But this is pretty primal. This is going back to your nature as a man or a woman. Okay, so quick example. Men think differently than women. We all think differently, we all act differently, and we all do things differently. So when you know this, then you can grow from this. The problem is that we all think the same. Men think women think like men. Women think men think like women. And the problem is we really don't think at all similar. But we try to think that that's the case, and we end up arguing, and we fight, we separate, and we just don't know why. So for instance, let's say you had an argument with your girlfriend. She said she wanted to go, actually she didn't say where she wanted to go for the date, right? But you made a decision. So you said, look, let's go here. You didn't ask her where she wanted to go. You didn't ask her what was on her mind. You just said, let's go here. And in doing that, she was kind of thinking about doing this or that, but now she already assumes that you've made a decision, and I guess what's on my mind doesn't really matter. So this is something that we might be doing. I'm going to be honest, this is something that I did just recently. I told my girlfriend, oh, let's go here, or maybe go there. I didn't ask her what she may want to do. So that's what I'm going to hop back into after this video. I'm going to ask her what she may have wanted to do, so I don't get in trouble with my own conscience, right? It's going back to morals. I got to stay true to my own principles, okay? So good. The difference in thinking. We're going to get into the difference in thought. Now, as men, we like to pursue things. We have a more active engagement to life. Not saying anyone doesn't, not saying women don't. I'm just saying as men, we are very active. That's why when we're 3, 4, 5, 6, we can't sit still. We're in the classroom, and the teacher wants us to sit still in that chair, but we want to go outside and play tag. We want to go outside and hunt something. We want to go outside and shoot something. It's because it's in our nature to go out and do, to pursue. Things like this. We're very active. We're very, let's go, have fun, let's exercise, etc. That's why I joined the military. Because I wanted to do things. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be out and about, using my physical and my mental. It was hard for me to sit still in a classroom. I couldn't do it for long, because it's just in my nature to go do a lot. Active engagement. That's why when I make these videos, I'm standing up. I got to give you everything. I got to give it the mental, the physical, emotional, spiritual. I'm giving it, pushing through it like a battle. So what you guys want to be doing is the same thing. What you guys want to be doing as men is not to put that aside. Don't hone it away. Embrace it. Embrace the masculinity. Embrace your essence. Embrace that. Because that's what's going to build your attraction. Period. That's what's going to build your attraction. Women are naturally attracted to the masculinity in you. Your natural form of it. Now there is an unnatural form of masculinity, and that normally comes from a repressed masculinity. So when a man has been repressed from expressing his natural form of masculinity, he will form a unnatural masculinity, which comes out in manipulation, which comes out in abusive behavior, which comes out in sadistic behavior. This is what comes out in a man, sadly, if he is not embracing his natural essence of masculinity. But if he can embrace it naturally to his fullest capacity, trust me, it'll come out in love. It'll come out in care. It'll come out with selfless behavior. It'll come out with putting you first as a woman before himself. But the society, sadly, just is trying to kind of take it away, out of a sense, because they only show the bad side of it. You think of masculinity, you think of, just guys trying to oppress people or degrade a woman. And that's not true at all. It's actually a man in his greatest form of masculinity can bring out the best in his woman, can bring out the best in her, because he has the ability to do that. It's a very active thing. To love somebody is an action. To bring out a smile in your woman is an action. You have to do that. You have to put time into her. You have to give her something, give her the love. That's an active thing. Women by nature are on the receptive. They are very good at receiving. Men are very good at giving, doing, pursuing. If there's a yin-yang concept, women would be more on the receptive and men would be on the active. And so what you want to understand is that in her essence, she wants to receive love and you want to give love. Not saying that she's not going to give love to you, but it's in your nature to want to give it. That's why it says in the Bible a man should pursue his wife. A man will find a good thing, pursue and find are both active roles. That means you're doing, you're pushing, you're giving, you're providing, you're acting. This is the essence of your manhood, as well as the essence of the foundation of your family when you can walk into this. Again, this isn't to oppress, this isn't to degrade, this isn't to belittle, but this is to bring out the best in those you love. And the only way you're able is when you walk into the fullness of your abilities. Now I want to hop into women because I talked a lot about men. I'm going to hop into some women things. Talk about some of that. Like I said, women by nature are more receptive, more enduring. Women by nature are stronger than men. Stronger than men. By nature are stronger than men. Women can endure the pain of childbirth. Men cannot. If you tried to put a man in childbirth, he wouldn't know what to do. They actually did a test the other day, and they had a man sit on a chair, and they put something on his stomach, and it was supposed to emulate the pain of childbirth. And this man couldn't take it. He's a big 6-foot tall dude, muscles bulging out his head. He was screaming. He couldn't do it. He couldn't handle it. He took it off. He said, "Get me out of here." See, women by nature can endure more. They're actually stronger by nature. This is something you guys may not have understood, but this is something you're going to need to know. Now, just because she's stronger by nature doesn't mean she should be putting up with the wrong, right? Because by nature women can endure more, the sad thing is a lot of women will get caught up in enduring abuse, enduring things that shouldn't be enduring neglect, enduring pain, enduring unnecessary straight up neglect. Again, sometimes you get into relationships where the guy is very abusive, or the guy is not giving you attention, or the guy is neglecting your presence. And in doing this, it's very abusive and it's hurtful. But because by nature you can endure more, you put up with it longer. You deal with it. And sometimes the problem with this is that a lot of women may think that if they deal with the pain longer, then they'll get something out of it. He'll eventually change, or something will change if I just keep putting up with it, or I keep enduring with this. And the answer is that's not going to happen. That will not happen. And so what you need to do is you need to understand that yes, you're stronger. Yes, you can endure. But you have to have this understanding that you are worth something. You have a dignity, you have a value. And if this person cannot see the blessing in his life, then you need to back away. You need to get out so that somebody can pursue you who sees you. You see, they say in the Bible a man should pursue his wife because in order for us to appreciate something as men, we need to pursue it. We value what we have to go out and get. We value what takes action to find. We value the effort that we have to put in to discovering a good thing. And you as a woman are a great thing. But in order for us to value, we have to go out and pursue. So for instance, if your man is not pursuing you, then he does not value you. He by nature values what he has to pursue. So if you're giving him everything and not getting anything, he is not respecting you for the blessing that you really are. Because guess what? You're a gift. You're a blessing by nature, period. That's a fact. But if the man in your life does not value this blessing, he is not worthy to receive this blessing. And remember this, you are a blessing. On all things, a blessing, a gift of grace, a gift from God to all people, men, women, the nature, society, humanity, etc. A blessing. So what your man has to get into the mindset of is that you are worthy of pursuit. And the sad thing is, like I say, because you can endure more, you'll put up with more. You'll put up with the fact he doesn't. You'll put up with the fact that he doesn't handle things. Right? I had a conversation with my girlfriend, and I'm talking to her a little bit about this exactly. And I told her, look, it's in the pursuit that I find value. It's in the action of finding a good thing is because sometimes there's going to be a blessing in front of us, but us as men, we just can't see it. Sometimes we just can't see the gifts in front of us. We have this weird thing where we get caught up in other things and we just forget to find the gifts that are right in front of our face. So yes, you could be the blessing in his life. Yes, you could be the one for that person. But he may not see it. And the reason he may not see it is because he hasn't pursued it. He hasn't pursued. He hasn't taken the time to value the hunt, to value the process of getting your like or whatever. That's a process that he will truly appreciate and has to go through to value you. So what you can do is, if you're not getting what you deserve, which is the attention, the love, the value, the right treatment, etc., not putting up with neglect, not putting up with pain, if you're not getting this, back away. Give it some time. And pray. And pray. Pack away and pray. If he hasn't been able to see the blessing in you, then pray that one day he will see the blessing in him. Because this is the thing, which a lot of us sadly don't get it. If you don't value you, how can you value someone else? If you don't know who you are in God, how can you know who someone else is in God? If you don't know your worth, how can you understand someone else's worth? So a lot of the time, the reason you don't feel like you're getting the worth you deserve is because a lot of the time that man doesn't know the worth he is. He doesn't know his value. See, when a guy knows his value, everybody's valued equivalently. Everyone's praised in that sense. Everyone's put up in that way. As he values himself. He values who he speaks to. He values who he values. He values his wife as on till death. He values his partner. He values his spouse. He values his family. He values his community. He values his nation. He values because he has value. Respect respects respect. Remember this. Respect respects respect. So if you have respect, you respect other people who have respect. You'll respect him more because he respects himself. And he'll respect you more simply because he respects himself. So this is something you might want to know. You might want to be interested in. You might want to consider. Like I say, back away and pray. Pray that he understands who he is in God. And maybe you'll find somebody that's right for you. Now, if you're already in marriage and you're dealing with this, don't leave the marriage. Don't leave the marriage because of this. Don't leave it for any reason. Because one thing we get confused if we deal with the problem that can be fixed in due season, but because we haven't seen it become fixed in due season yet, we back away too soon. You see, sometimes there's a process that's required for something to be healed. Sometimes there's a healing process. And if we haven't had time to heal from the wounds that our partner has put upon us, then we can't truly grow. We have to have a process of healing. Sometimes the pain was just too hard to bear. And because that pain is still there, you're going to need some time to heal. Time to rejuvenate, time to grow. But don't let that time of healing be a time of departing. There is no departure. There is just time for healing. And when you have the time to heal, you'll also find that when you get back into season, you'll have a time of growth, and major growth, growth beyond measure, growth beyond your capacity. Marriages always fall down sometimes, not always, but some get into low states. And in these states, we need a time of healing. We need a time of rebuilding, time of rejuvenating. And in this time, we may begin to think of separating. But never do this in a time of healing. This is a necessary time that's required for rebuilding. Because after the healing, you'll be able to rebuild further and greater than you've ever gone. This happens in so many marriages. There's so many testimonials of what's possible. And this happens to everybody. This happens to pastors. This happens to, people who make a lot of money. This happens to everyone. Doesn't matter your job, doesn't matter where you guys live. This happens to everyone. So don't think it's just you or it's just your man. No, no. Just understand that this is not uncommon. We do understand the divorce rate is 1 in 2 marriages. It's too high. Way too high. That's a 50% rate. So that means more people are getting divorced every day. It's 50%. This is commitment until death, not until pain, until death. When Christ was on the cross, he felt pain. They nailed the nails into the hand. They nailed into the feet. They abused, they humiliated. He felt pain. He felt the pain until death. Christ didn't say, okay, I'm not going to take this pain because it hurts. Because it hurts on the cross, I'm going to get off and you guys can all stay sinners the rest of your life. I'm not going to take this for you. He didn't do that. He stayed on it, endured the pain unto us because he loved us. As a man, you are supposed to love your woman until death. That means if she left you or she didn't respect you, whatever, you stay. Your love is enduring. It endures pain. It doesn't leave when there's pain. Christ didn't leave when there was pain. He didn't leave when it hurt. He stayed until death. And that's what you will do as well, if you can live by this creed of commitment. Some of us can't commit to anything, especially our families. And this is the basis. If we can't commit to our family, then how can we commit to anything else? How can we commit to our community projects? How can we commit to our nation building projects? We can't. If we can't commit to the basis of the community, if we can't commit to the basis of the nation, if we can't commit to the basis of ourself, which is keeping our integrity, which goes along with marriage. If you say, I will not leave you until death, then you believe that. And it's your integral skills to hold your word, to keep your commitments. This is why I go into all these lessons, principles, morals, integrity, because these define your engagement when it comes to this, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to this real commitment. You'll be firm enough in knowing yourself to make this commitment stable, to make it real, and to stay and stand by it. I'm going to hop into love a little bit. I'm going to give you guys some of the things about love. What does love really mean? And how we can find love. How we can find true love. True, real love. Not the love that not puppy love, not lust love, but real love. I'm going to talk about how we can find real love in the courtship process and how we can understand what love really is. And then I'm going to hop into the family foundation. I'm going to dig deep into that one. So I want you guys to take your pens out, your pads, and pay close attention. Alright guys, so right now I'm going to hop into love. What is real love? How do we find real love? How do we understand if it's real love or if it's just real good lust? And that's one of the major differences between maybe a girlfriend or a partner or a spouse. Maybe somebody you just, have a quick fling with and somebody that you're really serious about. It's the difference between lust and love. Now this goes for men and women. So sometimes there's women that fall in lust, and sometimes there's men that fall in lust. And the thing is, a lot of us as men tend to be a lot more attracted to what's on a woman. Women tend to be a lot more attracted to what's inside a man. Not saying that this isn't always the truth. I mean, of course, we are interested in what's really in you, as well as you're interested in what's really on us too. However, off of quick assumption, normally we're more attracted by our eyes. That's why when you're walking with your boyfriend in the mall and he's looking around all the time and you smack him on the head, you're like, why are you looking that way? It's because he's got these eyes and sometimes he really needs to focus them. It's easy temptation for a man. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what this real love, this true love is. What founds it? What's the nature of it? What's the essence of it? And I like getting into these cool topics because there really is an essence of this truest form of love. It's more than an emotion, number one. It's not what you feel, it's what you do. So one of the things a lot of us have already gotten mixed up is we start to think that love is something we feel. Lust is something you feel. Love is something you do. I'm going to tell you right now, lust is an emotion. After you had sexual relations with somebody, you might confuse lust with love. It happens, trust me. I've been there a long time ago when I was younger, so to speak, right? Let's just say I was younger and I didn't know Christ at that time, which I really didn't. I was doing my own thing. And I confused lust with love, okay? And I saw that as well. I saw that in the other person. So what we would end up doing is we would be attached to the lustful engagement of sexual interaction, okay? So what this was this is what attracted us to each other. This was the basis. It was sexual attraction was only the basis. And how did I know this? It's because during painful situations, during situations when she was in pain, during situations when I was in pain, there was no support there. There was no love there. There was nothing enduring there. It was always about how can you benefit me sexually? And it would be the opposite for her. How can I benefit her sexually? And I knew this because, to tell you guys, I was in the military. I've been through trainings and stuff. And the first day I went down to basic combat training to go fight and learn to train for the country, my girlfriend at that time told me, I hope you get shot in the balls. Now, of course, I did some things that were disrespectful unto her. I was cheating and I was with somebody else that was her best friend, actually. And at this time, I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was funny. I was just doing some stuff before I left, and obviously I probably shouldn't have done those things. But I was young, funny, doing my own thing, whatever. So I realized that she did not have love for me, and I didn't have love for her. But I ended up going back to her, not because of love, but because of lust. I was interested, and she was interested. So that kept us going. But it became abusive. It became dissatisfactory. It became inundation. It took over my life. It took over her life. There was drama. There was stress. There was emotions out of this world. And it took about 3 years to quench. It took about 3 years to officially end. This was a back and forth thing. It never ended. It ended one day, it came back the other day. And it was a horrible thing. But eventually, after about 3 years, it ended. No hardship, no grudges, just respect. And it ended. Boom, gone. Last time I talked to her was a long time ago, and I told her about the love of Christ. She was like, oh, I'm glad you're a Christian. I was like, I am too. God bless you. And I moved on. That's how I forgive. That's how I had to forgive and I had to move on. Some of us have not forgiven our past. We're still kind of inundated in that lustful situation. Maybe we're still talking to an ex or somebody that abused us, somebody that hurt us. But we keep going back to the same person. And I know this is all too common. A lot of women do it and a lot of guys do it. But we keep going back to the same person, hoping that they're going to change. Hoping that something's going to be different. Hoping that this time it won't be the same time. But I want to tell you one thing. Most of the time, people will not change. You're going to get what you get. You're going to get what you get. Now, sometimes you can see a possibility for someone to grow. But if you are expecting someone to change radically, this will not most of the time happen. You get what you get. So if you see this guy has cheated on you once, he's probably going to cheat on you again. Unless he has like some radical change, he comes to Christ, or you never know. It does happen. Change is possible. But for the most part, if this is what you're dealing with, this is what you will continue to deal with. And in this situation, you're going to need to leave. Because what this is doing to you is it's preventing you from finding who's really for you. If you can answer this question honestly, if the person you're with today, is this the person you want to be with forever? And if you can honestly answer that and say no, I'm not saying you have to think about it. I'm just saying if the first thing that comes to your heart is no, of course not, then stop hanging on. Leave it alone. Because what you're doing is you're preventing God from doing work in you. God wants to find you that right person. He wants to find you the one until marriage. But as long as you're holding on to the one that you know is not for your marriage, not going to be the one you marry, you're doing yourself the disfavor from actually opening the gateway to let the person who is for you in. So you have to get rid of it. Have to leave him or her alone as quickly as you get that conviction. Now sometimes we're thinking, well, you're like, Mac, I don't know, maybe this is the right person. Well, if you have to think about it, hold on to that thought, because it might be. But very rarely is anyone going to get there. Yes, of course. But if you're thinking, then this is a good sign. But if it's a complete no, then leave. Don't waste your time. Okay? Don't waste your time. But again, the foundation of your marriage is going to have to be enduring love. That means if you guys are in an argument, he's going to have to stay around. He's not going to be able to leave you in that argument. A lot of the time, men run away when they get confrontation. Some guys are like that. They don't like confrontation and they run away from it. So if the girl's angry, they just run. Instead of sitting there with her, dealing with that pain with her. That's real love. Love can endure the pain. Love doesn't say you're wrong for feeling sad. Love doesn't say you're wrong for hating me. Love says, let's understand why you hate me. I'm going to stay here with you. I'm not going to leave you in that pain. I'm not going to leave you in that anger. So if your girlfriend or your spouse is angry with you, you as a man need to stay there and not get so defensive. Just listen to her. Validate how she feels. The worst thing you can do is invalidate how she's feeling. A lot of the time men get defensive. And because we get defensive, we're actually invalidating her feeling to begin with. So if she's feeling like you're not there 100%, if you're not giving her the attention that she's looking for, in your defense, you have invalidated how she felt. And the worst thing you can do is invalidate her feelings. You need to actually validate them by acknowledging them, listening to them, staying there with her while she's feeling them. You know, I had a good conversation with my girlfriend. We were talking about some things that we want to work on, right? And I like to do that because I know it's a good thing. We want to talk about the things we need to work on and stuff. And so she was talking to me about communication being one of the things. And so what I could have done, I could have got defensive. I could have said, well, because I was doing this or because I was doing that. But I didn't do that because I know how it goes. I've seen that before. I've seen that situation happen in other relationships. I've seen the man get defensive and the woman feel unvalidated and there become more discord. I've seen it. I've been in that situation and I learned from it. I told myself when I saw it, I said, I'll never be that way when I get into that situation. I saw what the man did in that situation. I said, I'll never be like that. I'll never invalidate her feelings. I'll never do that. And so what I had to tell myself was, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do it. I'm going to acknowledge how she's feeling. So instead of getting defensive, I said, I completely understand where you're coming from. And you have every right to feel that way. And then I talked about how I can work on that and how we can work on that together. And how she can do more as well and how I can do more. But I validated where she was coming from, right? And I told her I validated. Sometimes men don't like, how do I do this, Mac? How do I validate the feel? Well, you said, look, I completely understand where you're coming. And I think, I get where and mean it. Don't just say it, but mean this. And validate her feelings. You have every right to feel that way. You have every right to feel the way you're feeling. I'm not invalidating how you feel. Of course there's things I can work on. Of course there's things we could work upon. But I'm not going to invalidate what you're feeling. So this is a basis when it comes to love because it's enduring. It's encompassing. It withstands the test of time. I'm going to help you guys do some more things when it comes to this, especially when it comes to laying a foundation. Again, men, the foundation is you. You are the foundation of the family. Okay? So if you're messing up, if you're dealing with this addiction, if you're dealing with some secrets hidden down and you're not confronting your you're not doing that self-evaluation like we said, then there's going to be some discord in your marriage. There's going to be some discord in your household. There's going to be some discord in your community. There's going to be some discord in your nation. But again, it starts with you getting that real deep soul searching and just confronting it, just confronting those pains, confronting those insecurities, confronting what people did to you, confronting it, embracing it, acknowledging it, and forgiving, and seeking God to guide you through it. It's important. I had to do this. I'm still doing it. I do it every day, right? But it's the only way. So again, I want to leave you guys off that note, and I'm blessed that you guys are staying tuned. You're getting some knowledge in. I got about 2 amazing more lessons to come to you when it comes to commitment. Can't wait to enlighten you and to show you what you need to know.